Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos.
Welcome to Ganesh IAS Academy. So this is the we've been discussing about current affairs for this year, Prelims 2024. So we have done two sessions. One was on polity and governance, and the other was on environment and a bit of geography as well. So the next session means today's session will be dealing with science and technology. As I already said in the previous session, your environment and science and technology put together will get a minimum of 40 questions. You can expect more than that also, because since you're 35 to 40, because you have your forest service prelims. I mean, your forest service, the screening for your forest service mains is also done through this prelims exam. So you'll have questions from both science and tech, and so this is very important. Actually, the subject is very important. So just go with the first current affair is Chandrayaan 3. Actually, it was failure of, not failure. There was partial success and of Chandrayaan 2 in the year 2019, somewhere around September. So since then, ISRO was working towards making Chandrayaan 3 a success. So that has happened last year. So the launch vehicle. So as far as Chandrayaan 3 is concerned, you need to know a few things. And we landed on the south pole of the moon, far south, which has very little or no interaction of the sunlight. So that's very important. So the launch vehicle, you need to know it's GSLV Mk3. So you might get this as one of the statements, because I think in 2018 prelims there was a question on geostationary or geosynchronous orbits. So something, and also there was a question on PSLV. There was a question on PSLV and the 4 stages. Your PSLV has 2 solid stages and 2 liquid stages. So, and your GSLV has only 3 stages. 3 stages, stages as in stages of propulsion. So stages of propulsion was once asked in 2018. So you can expect this year related to GSLV Mk3, because that was a launch vehicle for your Chandrayaan 3. And then you need to know the payloads. Payloads are the components of Chandrayaan 3 mission. So you have a lander, rover, and a propulsion module. So you need to first know what is a lander, you need to know what's a rover, and you need to know what is a propulsion module. And then you need to know some of the key findings. So one of the very significant findings of Chandrayaan 3 is it has found sulfur in the south pole, near the south pole of the moon. So that is something very significant. So this is quite different from what Chandrayaan 1 and Chandrayaan 2 had found out. So Chandrayaan 1 had actually found out traces of water in ice form, whereas your Chandrayaan 2, it discovered both water as well as hydroxyl ions, whereas your Chandrayaan 3 has discovered presence of sulfur in the moon. So these are the 3 different major aspects between your discovery of elements between your Chandrayaan 1, 2, and 3. So you need to know that. That's very important. And then if time permits, you can just have a comparison chart between your Chandrayaan 1, 2, and 3. How technology wise how mission wise, how objective wise, how the kind of success, or how far it has met its objectives. So in all these areas, you need to recover like the differences between Chandrayaan 1, 2, and 3, and then you should also be knowing about the other lunar missions from the other space agencies. For instance, your Bereshit is from Israel, your Artemis 2 is from US, Luna is from Russia, your Danuri is from South Korea, and your Hakuto R mission is from Japan. So you need to, like, you can just get this as a question. Like, just match the following, or how many they would have, like, given a set, and they might ask you like how many pairs are correct in this. So you can expect a question directly from here. And then there was also a reference to Shiva Shakti point. Shiva Shakti point is the point where Chandrayaan 3 has landed on the far side of the moon. So that point is called as Shiva Shakti point. And your Tiranga point is your region where we missed Chandrayaan 2, or the lander and the rover of Chandrayaan 2. So that is Tiranga point. And then apart from that, you need to know what is tidal locking and what is a lunar day. Just like another, like Earth day. See how we will describe Earth day is the time that is taken by the Earth to rotate around its own axis with respect to the sun. So that's your Earth day. So similarly, lunar day is the time that is taken by the moon to rotate around its own axis with respect to the sun. So that is your lunar day. Whereas your tidal locking is, it's a phenomena or a condition where the time taken to rotate, time taken by the moon to rotate, to have one rotation and to have one revolution around the Earth, both timings are same. So that is your tidal locking, and you just need to know what is this tidal locking and why it is happening and all. That's like too, let's not get into too much technical details, but the thing is, you need to know that there is a phenomena called as tidal locking. So if you cover along all these aspects, your Chandrayaan 1 is fine. Like, you would have like recently covered this. Sorry, Chandrayaan 3. You would have recently covered Chandrayaan 3. Next is like Aditya L1. Aditya L1 is India's first like space-based observatory for solar mission. So like that's very very important, and it has been launched in Lagrange point 1. The Lagrange point. See, if this is your sun, this is your Earth, and this is your moon. The Lagrange point 1 is here, somewhere between sun and the Earth. Lagrange point 2 is here, it is beyond the moon, and your Lagrange point 3 is here, behind the sun. And your Lagrange point 4 is here, and your Lagrange point 5 is here. So this is how the Lagrange points are like distributed in the solar system. So first, what does a Lagrange point mean? It's important that you know what a Lagrange point means. A Lagrange point is a point where the gravitational force of your sun, your Earth, as well as the satellite that is here, is balanced by the centripetal force of rotation of this satellite. So that is your Lagrange point. So this definition is like very very important. So you need to know that. And then you need to know about the launch vehicle. The launch vehicle for Aditya L1 is like PSLV C-57. So you need to know that. And then comes the layers of sun. I'm just like giving you the side view. So this is your core of the sun. This is your photosphere. This is your chromosphere. And this is your corona. So it's like important to know the order in which the layers are aligned. And then, as one significant understanding is, as you move away from the core, the temperature around the sun increases. So you actually, the corona has the largest maximum temperature, followed by your chromosphere, followed by your photosphere. So like that's very like important to understand. And then you need to know about sunspots. You need to know what are sunspots and what is solar prominence, solar flares, and coronal holes. Sunspots are like regions on the coronal region, where like you have the temperature is very low compared to the ambient region. So usually they will appear darkish when compared to the other region of the corona. So this is like sunspots. So next you need to know about what is solar prominence, solar flares, and coronal holes. So all these terms, like it's important that you have a good understanding. Okay, next is your Gaganyaan mission. I think since like 2017-18, since I started preparing, every year Gaganyaan mission is there in news. It's like very important that you know about the features, objectives of the mission, what is whether where to which orbit it is launched, whether it's like near Earth orbit or any other orbit, and what are the applications. I think here I think you need to know about the applications of this Gaganyaan mission. I think one significant application is you conduct microgravity studies. So you need to know what a microgravity study is. So it helps you to understand how like humans or human body behaves when you're in space, which might be like very significant to understand in case if there's a possibility of humans settling somewhere, not in the near future but somewhere later. If at all humans are exploring to stay in other planets or something, then we need to know, definitely have some idea about the we need to have some idea about microgravity studies. So then this Vyomitra is a robot which will actually go through this Gaganyaan mission, and then it's at the 400-kilometer orbit. It's like orbit for 3 days, and then you need to know about the tests that are done till now. There are a few tests like paired about test, and then you have atmospheric re-entry test. Then you have crew module, space module. So it's like important that you know about all these terms. And then whether you have any institutions created for this specific purpose, and the research institutions working, which are like working for the success of Gaganyaan mission, and if at all, which countries have collaborated. See, this is an indigenous project of India. But I think we have collaborated with a few institutions like to have some technology understanding or for research or for training. If I'm not wrong, I think the astronauts who are like trying to go in this Gaganyaan mission, they are trained by Russian Russians. If I'm not wrong. So, like that's very. I think that's something that I need to like note. Next is gravitational waves. First, it's important to understand what a gravitational wave is. Gravitational waves are nothing but ripples in the space-time fabric. So your space-time fabric, and this was given by Einstein. He said that like every space body has its own mass and it wraps the space-time fabric. So when it wraps the space-time fabric, definitely it is going to create some ripples. So that ripples is what is called as gravitational waves. So this is there in news since like 2016. Ever since you had this LIGO that discovered gravitational waves, and a scientific and experimental validation for Einstein's general theory of relativity was given in the year 2016, just 100 years after the general theory of relativity. So since then, the gravitational wave is in news, and then this is because you have LIGO India that is like trying to work more on discovery and the understanding of gravitational waves. So that's like something very important. And then next you need to know about what is gravitational lensing. See, actually, gravitational lensing is nothing but, I think, just from the term, just assume this to be a black hole. Assume this to be a black hole or a very huge space mass. So you'll have some space object here, and you're just viewing that from here. Since your black hole, it has the capacity to wrap your space and time fabric so heavily that it helps you view the objects which are far away. So that is something related to your lensing. What a lens does is, depending on like what depending on the power of the lens, depending on the power of the lens, it will make the objects to be seen either near or far away. So like that's very. So gravitational lensing is something that you need to know. I think gravitational lensing was asked once in 2021 or 2022. I'm not very sure, but gravitational lensing was asked in one of the prelims. And then you just need to know about this. What is this giant meter wave radio telescope? And then apart from that, we need to know about the other terms which are involved, say pulsars, neutron stars. What is a red giant? A red supergiant. What is a supernova? Pulsars, neutron stars, black holes. And then what is Chandrasekhar limit? I think all these things you need to be knowing. Or if at all like you haven't revised till now, just have a quick skim through about all these terms. Okay, next is neutrinos. Neutrinos again, like since 2016 or 17, every year like they are in news. Just for one good reason is that there is a neutrino observatory which is coming up in Bodhi Hills in Theni district from Tamil Nadu, and there are like people protests telling that this observatory should not be there because you have a Madikettan Solar National Park which is in the vicinity of the neutrino observatory that is planned. So like people and activists fear that it might affect the ecosystem and the national park, Solar National Park, which is in the zone, like in the vicinity of the proposed observatory. So it's like quite, I think, directly or indirectly, UPSC has once touched upon neutrinos. I don't remember the exact year, but they've asked. So for you need to know about the nature of neutrinos. So they are like tiny mass. They have like very weak interactions. They do not carry any charge. They have only half spin. So like that is something that you need to know. And they rarely interact with any other like space bodies or objects, which makes it very difficult for, which makes its presence to be detected very difficult. So that is something that you need to like note. And then you need to know about the types of neutrinos. You have muon neutrino, tau neutrino, and electron neutrino. And you just need to just have some brief idea about like what each type of neutrino means. And then there is something called as neutrino oscillation. And this neutrino oscillation is like as and when a neutrino moves, it moves in a straight line. By the way, that's like something important. It moves in a straight line, and as and when it moves, it has a capacity to change between one type to another type. A muon neutrino can become a tau neutrino, and a tau neutrino can become an electron neutrino. So it has a capacity to change as and when it moves. So that is called as neutrino oscillation. And then you need to know which all, where are neutrinos are produced. So it's the sun produces neutrinos, your exploding stars, supernovas, and in Earth too produces neutrinos. So this is something important because you might have one more like option or a question telling that which of the following can produce neutrinos, and everybody will be right with sun, supernovas, black holes, everything. But you might not know about Earth. Earth also produces quite very small amounts of neutrinos. Even small objects can also like produce neutrinos. So you need to like know that. And then next is this neutrino observatory. It's like done with the collaboration of Department of Atomic Energy and Department of Science and Technology. I think that you need to like know. So if you know like this much for this neutrinos, it's like enough. Okay, and this is this JUICE mission. JUICE mission is by the European Space Agency, which was launched recently, and it is to study about the moons of Jupiter, Ganymede, Europa, and Callisto. So these are like moons of uh, Jupiter. So you need to know this, and then you need to this JUICE mission is having double gravity assist. So you need to know what is double gravity assist. The double gravity assist means when a satellite or a space vehicle, usually a space vehicle, launch vehicle will carry satellites. So when the launch vehicles are carrying satellites, you need some extra push. So as and when you have that push, your certainty to reach the desired destination becomes more. So for that you need some assistance, right? So your double gravity assist means the JUICE mission or the launch vehicle of this mission is going to take assistance from Earth's gravity as well as the Moon's gravity to make its movement. So that is this double gravity assist. So this is something like very important. You need to know this. Double gravity assist is like gravity of Moon and Earth is being used for its propagation. I mean movement. And then you need to know about Jupiter, whether it's a Jovian planet or a terrestrial planet. What are the properties? What its atmosphere has? What are the speciality of the rings of Jupiter? Why Jupiter alone has rings? Or okay, why Saturn and Jupiter alone have rings? Which has like largest number of moons? I think some 6 years before it was Jupiter, which had over like 60 moons, but I think now Saturn has the most number of moons. There's over 100. There's over 100 discovered moons. So your Jupiter has second largest number of moons. So that is like very important. And then you need to know about the other missions to Jupiter. Your Pioneer, Voyager, Galileo, Juno, Europa Clipper. I think all these are from your NASA. Europa Clipper is from European Space Agency. So this is something you have to note. Next is Osiris Rex mission. So your Osiris Rex mission, it's nothing but, again, this was in current affairs since 2018, because every year it's like giving some update. So like this is there in the current affair for the past 6 or 5 years. So like I've taken very recurring current affairs. So it's just to explore the asteroid Bennu, and to study about the asteroid, to collect samples, to make astronomical studies on that. So that is your Osiris Rex mission. So it's from NASA. And then you need to know about the goals of the mission, the status, what it is doing, and then you need to know about what a comet is, asteroid is, meteoroid, meteor, and meteorite. See, your comet is an icy kind of an body that gives out like light and heat as it travels through the space. Your asteroid is again a space object that most of the asteroids are concentrated in that Mars to Saturn orbit. Your meteoroid is again a space object whereas your meteor is something that a meteor is a meteoroid that moves towards Earth's surface, and your meteor generally burns when it enters the atmosphere due to friction. There is a meteor, and your meteoritis, when it reaches the Earth and it burns, that is your meteorite. So including a comet, asteroid, meteorite, meteor, and meteorite. So that you need to know. And then you need to know about Earth crosses. Earth crosses are nothing but like asteroids are space objects that has a potential to reach Earth or to pass the vicinity of the Earth. So asteroid Bennu is like one such Earth crosser. So that's why we are exploring about that. And then you need to know about the role of asteroids in space study. So because one of the theories or the well accepted theories of space formation is that the planets and stars, they have formed from a single chunk of mass, gas, and clouds. So going by that, the origins of all the planets should have been similar, including the asteroids, because asteroids are nothing but leftovers of the gas clouds. So Going by that, if you are studying or making a research about an asteroid, there's like quite a good amount of chance that you're going to know about the origin of the solar system or the origin of the universe as such. So it's important that we like study about asteroids. They're relatively easy when comparing to study about planets. Studying about asteroids is like relatively easy. So that is with this. Next is your brain computer interface. One of the subsidiaries of Elon Musk company, it has implanted a brain computer interface in one of the patients for treatments. So I don't think UPSC will like get into the technical aspects of the brain computer interface, but it can ask something regarding neurons, brain, because it is readily available in the NCRT. They might ask you what is a neuron, what is an axon, what is a dendrite, what is synapses. Synapses is a junction between two neurons. So like that is something very important. And then you need to know about what is a BOSP, and then you need to know about what is a biocomputer, and then you need to know about what is an organ chip. Organ chip is nothing but like you'll have a chip kind of thing, and you'll have tissues embedded in that. So that is your organ chip. So it will like act. It will take inputs from the tissues which are present inside the chip, and it will act accordingly. So that is your organ chip. So now you need to know about what is a biocomputer. So if you are like covering along these aspects, I think it will be like fine enough with respect to this topic. Next is your antimicrobial resistance. This antimicrobial resistance was asked in the year 2019 or 2020. 2020, yeah, in 2020. There was a question on this antimicrobial resistance. So first you need to know what is the meaning. So your antimicrobial resistance is something when your bacteria or virus or any microbe for some matter becomes resistant to the antibiotic or the medicine that is acting against it. So that is your antimicrobial resistance. So then you need to know about the causes and the drivers. Your causes and drivers can be anything. It can be improper usage, half usage, or prolonged usage, or incorrect usage of drugs, or like premature uh, like waste treatment of drugs or chemicals, or prolonged like water pollution, because your microbes in most of the waterborne diseases, your microbes are found in water, and if your water is more polluted, then your microbes can become more resistant to the chemicals that are found on the river. So that's like one more reason. Next, you need to know what's a biofilm. Biofilm is a protective layer that is found on any object. Any object will have a kind of film that protects it from the air interface. So that's a biofilm. Next, you need to know about what is glass, gapper, and aware. So these are some of the terms which are associated with WHO with respect to antimicrobial resistance. Your glass is global antimicrobial global antimicrobial surveillance system. So your GAPR and aware, I'm just not very sure about the like expansion. So you need to know that, and then you need to know about the red line campaign. Red line campaign is something that is done to create awareness among the people. It's done to create awareness among the people on antimicrobial resistance. And then schedule H1 of Drugs and Cosmetics Act. It deals with the list of drugs which need to be administered very carefully. And then mostly why it's called a red line campaign is you'll have a drug, and in the backside of it you will see a red line like this, which means it's to create an awareness regarding this antimicrobial resistance. And then this is something very very recent current affair: phage therapy. Instead of using antibiotics to kill bacteria, you can adopt bacteria or virus. You can adopt other means to kill viruses, and one such is like a bacteria killing virus. So bacteriophage, we heard of bacteriophages. It's a virus that kills bacteria, or yeah. So it's like something to do with that. So that is why you need to know about what is a phage therapy is. Next is like sickle cell disease. So the sickle cell anemia is something which has the potential to be asked because you have this one mentioned in the NCRT. So you need to know what is CRISPR is. The US has recently approved the CRISPR technology for sickle cell disease. This is a genetic disorder, by the way. Generally, you can use CRISPR. Your CRISPR is cluster regularly interspaced palindromic repeats. So that is your CRISPR. And then you have something called as Cas9. Cas9 is a molecular scissor. So Cas9 is a molecular scissor that will help you to like cut your DNA at the desired location. So this you need to know, and then you need to know about what is this National Sickle Cell Anemia Elimination Mission. You need to know about what is this National Sickle Cell Anemia Mission and what are the components, targets. You know about the components, targets, institutions involved, and the strategies. So you need to know about all this, and then you need to know what is a hemoglobin and what are chondrocytes. It's like this chondrocytes that aids your hemoglobin to carry oxygen. And then you need to know about what is oxyhemoglobin and deoxyhemoglobin. Your oxyhemoglobin is your oxygen after combining with hemoglobin. Your deoxyhemoglobin is something that is formed when your carbon monoxide combines with hemoglobin. So that's the difference between oxy, and these two terms find reference in your NCRTs. So you can expect a question, like you can expect a very very simple question on oxy and deoxyhemoglobin. Next is generic medicine. Like you need to know what a generic medicine is. What are the definitions or commonly accepted definition for generic medicine, and how India defines generic medicine. Then like compulsory licensing, and it comes under the provisions of like Indian Patents Act of 1970. Usually, once it is patented after till 20 years, you cannot like bring about a generic version of the drug. But under compulsory licensing, under extraordinary circumstances, even without the permission of the company who has patented the drug, generic developing a generic variety is permitted. So that is your compulsory licensing. And then your biosimilar is something. Your biosimilar is a medicine that is like produced from microorganisms which has the properties similar to that of other chemically produced drugs. So that is a biosimilar. And then you need to know about the patent rights with regards to which are in the generic medicine or discussion of generic medicine. Then you need to know about the Central Drug Standards Control Organization of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. There was a question in 2018 directly referring to this, just asking whether this belongs to this ministry or not. There was a question statement like that. So it's like very important that you know. Next is your non-sugar sweeteners. Your WHO has this like declared that your non-sugar sweeteners, aspartame, is carcinogenic. So this is like very important. I've picked this because generally UPSC has the habit of giving you four names, four or three names, and then asking you like these three names are referred in news recently in the context of, and then you might have like A, B, C, D, and you might have four options. So if at all this name aspartame comes, so that is nothing but a non-sugar sweetener. I think 1 year, 2022 or 21, I don't remember. There was a question on toiletries. There was like some three or four names it was given, and the answer was toiletries. So similarly, you can expect non-sugar sweeteners this year also. So neotane, sorbitol, palmitin, and sucralose are the other non-sugar sweeteners. So you can just make note of these terms, which might appear directly in your exam as well. And then you need to know about what is Food and Safety Standards Authority of India. What are the legal mandate of that? How does it work? So you need to discuss about all that. And then FSSAI has approved a few of the non-sugar sweeteners. So you need to know what are those non-sugar sweeteners. I think if you do that, this is done. Next is your neglected tropical diseases. Your neglected tropical disease definition, you can get it from WHO website. You just go through, skim through those definition. You'll have like a four or a five line like definition of uh, neglected tropical diseases. And then you have a list of diseases which are neglected tropical diseases. This is not exhaustive. I've just mentioned a few. Your dengue, chikungunya, rabies, and leprosy. These are like neglected tropical diseases. And why it is called neglected tropical diseases? The countries as a whole, the nation as I mean, world as a whole has not paid much attention to those diseases which are prevalent in tropical countries. So that's why it's called as neglected tropical diseases. And then you can there was a London declaration recently on neglected tropical disease and the Kigali declaration to eradicate and control neglected tropical diseases by 2030. So these two terms you need to like know. Just simple statement questions can be asked. London declaration and Kigali declaration are found or uh, are repeated in news in the context of, you can expect like four statements, and you can, so the right answer will be your neglected tropical disease. Going to the next one, net energy gain. Okay, first you need to know what is this net energy gain. Okay, before that, you need to know how nuclear fission and nuclear fusion operates. See, for nuclear fusion, you have two atoms coming together to form a third bigger atom. You have two small atoms to form a bigger atom. To bring them together, you need to invest some energy, and then when it forms, it releases energy. So, for net energy gain, the energy that you invest, say I, and the energy that is released, say R, your R must be greater than I. Then only you will have net energy gain. Otherwise, what's the purpose of using a fusion reaction? So this is something that you need to know, and this net energy gain will take some time to set in. So recently, in one of the country, I do not know whether it is in tokamak or I do not know very sure, but there was this net energy gain was achieved. So which means that producing energy from nuclear fusion reaction is something that is going to happen in the next 2 or 3 decades. So this is actually called as Coulomb barrier. Coulomb barrier is to make them fuse together, you need to invest some energy. So that energy that is required is called as Coulomb barrier. And then you need to know about the significance of nuclear fusion reaction. It's relatively clean. You do not have any toxic or radioactive byproduct. Whereas in a fission reaction, you will have radioactive byproducts and very heavy metals will be produced, but not with the case of fusion reaction. And then you need to know about your ITER project and tokamak. These two were asked in 2018 prelims. These two were asked in 2018 prelims. What is this tokamak, ITER, and what is India's role? Whether India is a member or not. All these aspects you need to cover. And then you need to know about the three-staged nuclear program in India. So your first stage is pressurized heavy water reactor. Your second stage is a fast breeder reactor, and third stage is thorium-based reactor. And in each stage, you need to know what are the input fuel, the coolant, and the moderator. So for each stage, you need to know coolant, moderator, and fuel input. So that is there. And then next you need to know about what is uranium enrichment. So uranium enrichment is generally discussed for the last 6 or 7 years in the context of Iran's nuclear program, because US and the other nations have accused Iran to have increased the uranium enrichment levels. So what is uranium enrichment means is that uranium 235, it is found in 0.7% in the ore. In the ore that you excavate or mine, you'll have its concentration from around 0.7%. So you have to enrich that concentration to 5 or 6%. So the means you adopt to enrich that uranium 235 content in the ore, that is called as uranium enrichment. So this you need to know. So if you go beyond 10 or 20%, definitely you're going to create a nuclear bomb. But if you have it in that 5 to 7% levels, you're going to have it for peaceful purposes. That is your energy production. So that's the difference between utilizing your nuclear technology for energy production as well as for defense purposes. So next is S400 Triumph. This is there in news repeatedly for the past 5 years, 6 years, ever since India has got this from Russia. This is basically an air defense system. This was asked in 2021 mains actually. in GS3, and then in prelims of 2018 as well, 18 or 19, this was asked. So you need to know this. This is a long range surface to air defense system. And then you need to know about Project Kusha. Project Kusha that is seeking to develop a long range surface to air missile in India. So you need to like know that. And then you need to know about the role of DRDO in this. And then you need to know about the air defense of other nations. Your THAAD is your air defense of US. Your Iron Dome is the air defense of Israel. And your David Sling is again Israel. In fact, this was there in news because this was adapted by, this was used by Israel to intercept the attacks from Hamas. And the European Sky Shield is from the EU. So all these areas are like very important. And then you need to know about some basics. What's a cruise missile? What's a ballistic missile? Your cruise missile generally, say this is your atmosphere, this is your ground levels. Your cruise missile, it generally goes in this way. It travels its entire journey in within the atmosphere. Whereas your ballistic missile, it travels through the atmosphere, it reaches out of the atmosphere, and then it falls under gravity. So this is the path of your cruise missile, and this is the path of your ballistic missile. And if at all your ballistic missile has a capacity or the capability to reach other continents, so that is called as intercontinental ballistic missile. And in India, you have a lot of intercontinental ballistic missile, and the latest operational one is Agni 5, and there is research also going on Agni 6. So you need to know the list of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. That's something very important. And then you need to know about the integrated guided missile program and the missiles which are a part of this integrated guided missile program. That is very important. And then you need to know about what is Pralay, Astra, and Spike. All these three are missiles, and you need to know whether they are ballistic, cruise, anti-cruise, anti-ship, anti-tank. Your Spike is an anti-tank missile from Israel. Your Pralay is like indigenous ballistic missile, I guess, and your Astra is a cruise missile. So you have to like discuss along these lines. Yeah. Next is your Nobel Peace Prize. Sorry, it's not like Nobel Peace Prize, it's Nobel Prize. So Nobel Prize, usually how UPSC picks question is, they'll take concepts from the areas for which Nobel Prize was awarded. So for physics, it was awarded in electron dynamics, and in chemistry it was awarded for quantum dots, and in medicine it was awarded for mRNA vaccine. So you just need to have some understanding about all these concepts. And to the people, if at all, like try to remember two. I think usually it's like awarded jointly. So you need to know the names of the people who have received. Because in 2021 mains again, UPSC had asked question on the technology or the concept behind the areas for which Nobel Prize was awarded. So that is something very important. Next is your Hyperloop. Thanks. Next is your Hyperloop. I think Hyperloop, that's again in news since 2018, and it's something very interesting for Elon Musk. So it is something like the fifth means of transport after rail, road, water, and airways. It's a fifth generation. And then it operates. See, you'll have a tunnel kind of thing where you'll have near vacuum, and then you'll have huge electromagnets on the bottom. Then you'll have the train here. These are called like pods. You have the pods will be here, and you'll have huge electromagnets here, and you'll have magnets on the bottom as well. So based on this, you'll have like attraction and repulsion, and based on this attraction and repulsion only, the hyperloop actually moves. So this is the tube, and this is the pod. So this is how how your hyperloop works. So both your repulsion as well as attraction both works, but the general misconception is that since it is moving, there is always the misconception that there will be only repulsion between the pod and the huge electromagnets, but it's not that way. You'll have both attraction as well as repulsion, which are like working for it to make the hyperloop move. And then you need to know about the speed at which it travels and whether it is very fast when compared to your airways or it's like slightly lesser. It can reach up to 1200 kilometers an hour speed. That is very important. And then you need to know about the advantages, disadvantages. I think all those aspects is needed. Next comes your gene editing. First, like as the name suggests, like this is how your DNA will be. So in those DNA you will have your genes. So your genes are like the major reason for your characteristics, your thinking capabilities, your skills, everything. So recently, why I've picked this topic is recently a low pungent means smell kind of thing. So a low pungent mustard variety was developed by a Varuna. Varuna is a mustard variety. It has low pungency using this CRISPR-Cas9 editing technology. So how this CRISPR-Cas9 works is, assume this is the DNA sequence. If at all, just assume this is the part of the DNA that is responsible. Assume like this is the part of the DNA that is responsible for the pungent smell. Now, what this Cas9 will do is, this is a molecular scissor that will cut the DNA at these two segments, and then that will be replaced by another DNA segment. That will be replaced by another DNA segment. Will be like brought here. So now your DNA will be like this. So this is how your new DNA, and the portion that was responsible for the pungent smell has been cut off. So this is how your new gene or the DNA will look like. So this is genome editing, and that is the, so this is Cas9. So Cas9 is your molecular scissor. And then now you need to know about BT cotton and BT brinjal, because your BT cotton and your BT cotton is the only commercially cultivated, genetically modified crop which is allowed. And your BT brinjal, there is always a discussion about BT brinjal. And then GM mustard was asked in 2000. was asked in 2018. It was from Delhi University or Punjab University. Like the statement was like that. Which of the following? No, one of the statement. Which of the following is right with reference to like GM mustard? And there was a option. It said it was developed by a Delhi University or Punjab University. So that you need to know. And then you need to know about the enzyme replacement therapy. Instead of editing the gene, how about altering the enzyme or replacing the enzyme as such to get the desired variety? So that is your enzyme replacement therapy, and this was allowed by the US administration recently. And then you have to know about what is gene drive technology and what is genome sequencing. Genome sequencing is nothing but you just collect the DNA samples and then you just sequence the nature of genes and the positions of genes in the DNA within the DNA, and then you do it for the whole lot of flora and fauna that is known to you. So that is uh, like genome sequencing. Next is three parent child. Three parent child is very favorite question of UPSC. I think last year 2023 prelims it was asked, and in 2018 prelims also it was asked. So for this, I think this is something very interesting because the science that was taught to us, it usually tells that you will have one egg and you will have a sperm which will come and fuse this egg to form a embryo, and usually one egg will be fertilized only by one sperm. If at all it is like fertilized by a different sperm, you might you might have twins. So sometimes what will happen is after the fusion has taken place, your egg might like break and then form. So this is before fusion and this is after fusion. Your embryo might break and form two small ones. So these are like monozygotic twins. Sometimes you'll have two eggs available, and then you'll have two different sperms fertilizing those two different eggs. So these are dizygotic twins. Zygote. So, but this three parent child is something that is very interesting. This is like quite different from what we were taught, because going by the diagram that I showed you, a child can have only two parents, but this three parent child is a case where you have the cell from the father, you have the cell from the mother. This is nucleus. Actually, not just your nucleus, even your other part of cell can have DNA. So one such is your mitochondrial DNA. So you'll have mitochondrial DNA. So for the child, if you see, for the child, if you see, you'll have this, and you'll have this mitochondrial DNA from the mother. The nucleus will have DNA from both the father and the mother, but your mitochondrial DNA will be only from the mother. Okay, so now there was a condition where if at all there was any genetic defect in this mitochondrial DNA, the child of the mother cell, the child was inheriting the mitochondrial DNA and it was inheriting the defect from the mother cell. So to prevent that, if at all there is any gene defect in this DNA, that was inherited to the offspring, because your fathers do not contribute to the mitochondrial DNA. So to prevent this, what was done was, you had another donor, female donor, has this nucleus, who had a different mitochondrial DNA. So now what they did was, they just discarded off the nucleus, and you can do it either two ways. So one way is, you just discard this nucleus, put this one here, put the nucleus from here, and then you just fuse this and this. That is the donor's egg, and your father, biological father, both are fused, but you'll just retain only the mitochondrial DNA, and the nucleus will be from the mother. Or you can just discard this mitochondrial DNA, mitochondria, and put this new mitochondria from the donor. So technically, your child will be like this. It would have inherited the mitochondria from the donor mother. So this cell will have DNA of, from the nucleus will have the DNA of the father plus mother, and then it will have DNA from the donor mother also. So this is three parent child. So like this was asked yesterday, I mean sorry, not yesterday, the last year prelims. So you need to know mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell. That is, this term is mentioned in NCERT. This term is mentioned in NCERT. And then this is nothing but getting mitochondrial DNA from the mother. What is molecular motor? You need to know this term. This molecular motor is a term where the chemical energy that is associated in the cell is used to produce mechanical energy. And then you need to know about what is the cell structure, what is nucleus, what is cytoplasm, what is a cell wall, what is a cell membrane. So you need to know all those which is there in the NCERT basics. And then you need to know about the plant cell and the animal cell differences. Difference between plant cell, and this was asked in 2020. And there was a question or a statement that spoke about the difference between a plant cell and an animal cell. So this is it. Next is your CAR T cell therapy. Recently, a Central Drug Standards Control Organization has approved this indigenous CAR T cell therapy that is done to combat cancer. It was done by ImmunoAct, is a company which is associated with, in which IIT Bombay is associated. And then you need to know about what are the T cells, B cells, T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, what are white blood cells, red blood cells, hemoglobin. Again, the basics which are there in NCERT, you need to be aware. And then you need to know about its role in cancer cure. And then you need to know what is T lymphocyte, B lymphocyte, and then tissue engineering. You need to know what is tissue engineering, like where you like promote or produce tissues in laboratory conditions. So that is your tissue engineering. I think if you cover all those, this CAR cell therapy is like fine. Next is your D project. Your D project is diverse epi. It is your diverse epigenetic epidemiology partnership project. Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology is there in Bangalore. So this project is done by them. So it's about epigenetics. Epigenetics is about how the environment or the human behavior affects the human genome functioning. So this deep project tries to understand that. So this is something very new concept. So UPSC might test you on these lines, and then you need to know about what is a genetic marker. I think if you cover this much, it's fine enough for this topic. Next is like National Quantum Computing Mission. It's a mission was launched, I think, a few years ago, maybe 2022 or 21, some 2 or 3 years ago it was launched, but it's there repeatedly in news. What is the mission cost is like 6,000 crores. Actually, the details of National Quantum Mission was asked in IFS Mains. IFS Mains 2023 last year. So you might expect in prelims. So what are the objectives of the mission? What is a qubit? What is quantum technology? First of all, what is superposition? What is entanglement? Your superposition, see, generally your bit will read either as 0 or 1, but your superposition is a capacity to read both, to be both 0 and 1 simultaneously. So that is your superposition. And then your entanglement, what is quantum supremacy? Quantum supremacy is the advantage that you have with the quantum technology to perform a function which is several times faster when compared to other supercomputers or other classical computers. So that is your quantum supremacy. And then you need to know about what is quantum coherence. Quantum coherence is the ability of the system that uses quantum technology to, it's the ability of the system to maintain a proper speed or in executing proper speed in executing functions without any like external noises or hindrances. So that is quantum coherence. And then you need to know about what a quantum, what are the applications of like this National Quantum Mission and quantum technology in general, because UPSC since 2018 they have been asking, there are at least one or two questions regarding applications of any technology, be it either artificial intelligence or blockchain technology or neural network or deep learning, machine learning. So applications, UPSC is like very interested in those application areas. So I think in 1 year there was a question on application of GPS. Oh, yeah, in 2018 they had asked application of GPS. So it's important that whatever technology you study about, you have some good, at least like 3 or 4 good points about the applications also. Next is like artificial intelligence. I think this is something like very talked about or sought after, very talked about or sought after technology, because recently you had this world's first ever ASFT summit in London. This might be a question. And then you have Blursley declaration. You just read about what those declarations had. Just 1 or 2 points is enough. Then you need to know about what is this chat GPT. What is GPT? GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. So what is that GPT and what is OpenAI? What this question of what is OpenAI was asked in CS interview this year to one of the candidate. What is OpenAI? Was asked to one of the candidate. And then you need to know about what is machine learning, deep learning, and neural networks are. So just simply put, your artificial intelligence is this, your machine learning is this, and your deep learning is this. So that's the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. See, your artificial intelligence is nothing but your computers mimicking human activities. That's it. It's a mere mimicking of human activities through computers. Whereas your machine learning, it uses statistical modules. So it's nothing but a subset of your artificial intelligence. So your machine learning, it uses statistical modules to understand how certain functions are to be performed. So this is your AI, this is your machine learning, and this is your deep learning. So your machine learning uses statistical modules, whereas your deep learning uses neural networks. It's like one step ahead of your machine learning. So your deep learning is something very, very specific kind of machine learning, and machine learning is a very specific kind of artificial intelligence. So this is the relation between these three, and it's important that you know these. And then you need to know the applications. A few applications of artificial intelligence. Maybe you can find it in border surveillance, health, education, medicine, agriculture, water, sanitation. Anywhere you can use artificial intelligence. So it's like very important that you know at least take two or three examples, applications in every field. I think this was asked in 2022 mains or 23 mains. I'm not very sure. Applications of, I think in 2019, application of nanotechnology was asked. Nanotechnology in health was asked 1 year. So you can expect question on artificial intelligence also, the applications. If you know this, it's like enough. Next is like Web 3.0. Your Web 3.0 is there in news. So first you need to know what is Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Your Web 1.0 is like your static web, your Internet Explorer, Google. So all search engines are like static webs. Web 2.0 is an interactive space. All your social media comes under this category of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Everything comes under this Web 2.0. Whereas your Web 3.0 is a peer-to-peer. It enables a peer-to-peer interaction without any intermediaries. And your blockchain networks comes under this Web 3.0. And then you need to know about what is Web 2.0, I mean Web 4.0 or Web 5.0. And then what's the difference between 4.1 and 5.0, all those areas you need to know. And then you have to know about the applications of Web 3.0. If you like cover this, like decent. Next is like cryptocurrency. So if you are like learning about cryptocurrency, you need to know first what is blockchain. Blockchain is a decentralized distributed ledger. The blockchain is a distributed decentralized ledger. So your cryptocurrencies are mined using blockchain technology, and you need to know what are bitcoins and what are the other cryptocurrencies. Your Ethereum is one of the type of cryptocurrency, and then you need to know what is proof of work or proof of stake. You need not know the details of those statements, but just make sure that these terms, proof of work and proof of stake, are terms which are associated with cryptocurrencies. So like that's important. And then you need to know what is a crypto asset. Your crypto asset is something, your digital kind of asset. Your digital asset in form of like cryptocurrencies is your crypto asset. And then non-fungible tokens, this was asked in 2022. prelims. So what are like non-fungible tokens and what are the utility tokens? I think all those things you need to know. Then like few applications of blockchain, you can like use it in registration departments for land, for verifying land documents, for college certificates. I think IIT Madras has already issued certificates through this blockchain technology. And then e-commerce transactions, where the assurance or the validity is given by the users and you have a peer to check that also. So all these aspects you need to like work. Next is you need to know about what is additive manufacturing. See, additive manufacturing or like 3D printing, it's a kind of technology where you have a predetermined shape or an object that is developed by creating layers. Assume this is the object that you're going to create. You're going to create this object by layers. If you like, if you are a mechanical engineering student, you'll be able to associate mechanical engineering or a material science engineering student. You'll be able to like associate this term additive manufacturing or 3D printing very closely. And then recently, this was there in news. What is 4D printing? 4D printing is nothing but you have 3D printing, and after the object is developed, you are able to change the shape of the object that is created. So that is 4D printing. So you need to know what is the difference between 3D printing and 4D printing, and then you need to know about the applications of 3D printing. Additive manufacturing, it can be used to like form spare parts, manufacture spare parts of automobiles, in forestry, where you can like create the beaks of birds or legs of animals that are lost. Like in health, very intricate medical devices can be manufactured through 3D printing. So like all these are some of the examples and applications. Next is your first facial recognition technology. This is like there in news. The facial recognition has become an integral part in your airport checks that uses artificial intelligence. And you don't know what are the applications and limitations, and what are the efforts that government of India has taken, or what police department or judiciary for the efforts like they have taken. If you know that, this is like nothing much in this part. Next is like supercomputers. Yeah. Next is supercomputer. We need to know the definition of what a supercomputer is. It is nothing but a computer which can perform computing functions at a much better speed. That is a supercomputer. And then you don't know what the term IRAWAT means and what is CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced. So you need to know what is CDAC, and then you need to know about the other supercomputers. Your IRAWAT is a new supercomputer, and what are the other supercomputers are like Param 8000, Pratyush, Mihir. Your Pratyush and Mihir are utilized in your tropical uh, weather studies. And you have Param 8000, Param Shive. So all those are super. So you need to know some of the names of supercomputers. You need to know about the applications, and then have some idea about world's largest, fastest. This Iravat is actually ranked 75th. It's from India and it's ranked 75th out of the 500 of the fastest supercomputers in the world. So now you need to know what is the world's fastest supercomputer. I think like that's fine. Okay. So like as far as like science and technology is concerned, like I'm trying to cover as many current affairs as possible from space, defense, information communication, green technology, electronic technology, biotechnology, everything. So a few things, a few concepts which I wasn't able to find any current affair, but are very relevant to be asked are need to know about nanotechnology, biotech. I think biotechnology like I've covered, but still artificial intelligence, blockchain, we discussed machine learning, we discussed. And then you need to know about water purification. These are like some of the concepts that I'm randomly giving. Techniques or pollution levels. I need to know about all those. And then some green technologies. Need to know about nuclear. Nuclear, I think I discussed, but I'm talking about the basics. Nuclear energy, solar, wind, hydro, tidal, wave. So like all these areas you need to work. And then as far as like electronics and communication is concerned, you need to talk about virtual reality. Virtual reality was asked in the year 2019. Virtual reality, augmented reality, then merged reality. And then you need to know about what is net neutrality, then what is geospatial technology, you need to know what is geospatial technology. And like as far as defense is concerned, you know about ships, warships, battle tanks, helicopters, aircraft, missile, aircraft carriers, submarines, and missiles you have like cruise, ballistic, anti-cruise, anti-ballistic, anti-ship, anti-tank. So you need to know at least like along these lines, just go through at least like 2 or 3 current affairs, which like current affairs where they were like mentioned, and then space technologies. I think I've told you. So space, defense, electronics, green technology, biotechnology, green technology. Okay. So I think yeah, like I've tried to cover like as many as possible. See, the thing with science and technology is if you are from a science background or an engineering background, you might be able to quickly associate with the question, but you might not be able to answer. You might not be in a position to like answer the question. But if you are aware of the concepts, like at least like name wise, then there's quite a good number of chance that you'll be able to crack those questions. And science and technology is like very vast. You cannot like cover everything. But the thing is, UPSC has this habit of asking questions from NCRTs. They'll take the concept from NCRTs and they'll try to associate with the current affairs that is happening. So that's what like I've tried to cover. I've tried to cover at least like 20, 25 to 30 current affairs, which I feel was important that could be asked in this year prelims. So this is just an indication, as I said. So if at all like you work on areas other than this, I expect you to revise everything. And if at all the areas that I've touched upon, if you have not covered, like it's good time you have like another like 10 days time, and you can like go through them as well and increase your chances of clearing prelims this year. So yeah, all the best and thank you.